I've been working on my dungeon crawler game, and I spent the last few months rewriting the entire combat system for my game. The previous system couldn't support all the features I wanted to implement. The goal of the new system was to implement new abilities and skills to take as little coding as possible. I also wanted to create a prediction system to show the player what the outcome of an action will be. This UI doesn't look great. Before, I was trying to emulate the Nintendo DS dual screen style by splitting the top and the bottom half of the screen, but this made the screen look a little too crowded. I decided to remove the bottom screen to clear up the cluster of information. Now the main screen covers the majority of the screen. The map that was on the bottom of the screen is now a pop-up on the side. Other infos that were on the bottom screen are also pop-up instead. For example, character info can be seen by clicking and holding a character and seeing the info. The combat UI has also changed. Options are now on the side like I had it originally, but I also removed extra pop-ups for skill and items. This is so that the player could see all their options at once and don't need to go through extra menus. This also makes planning actions easier. In addition, after selecting an action, an information will pop up to show the player the action details. This was on the bottom screen before, but since it's removed, it is now here instead. The map remained mostly the same except for a few features I added. Now you could select draw, erase, or pan options to edit the map, making it harder to accidentally draw on the map. There's an undo button for mistakes you made. Zoom, resize, and reposition options are also available. The biggest change is the auto mapping feature. To make it less tedious for the player to draw the map will automatically fill up floors, enemies, and important events. Unfortunately, this removes some of the uniqueness of needing to draw your own map. So I'm still thinking if I need the ability to edit the map in the first place. Perhaps I could use some sort of step counter to force the player to plan their path using the map, but that would be a future idea to try out. Now on to the main topic, rewriting the entire combat system of my game. I wanted to implement a prediction system, but this would be a lot of work due to how the old combat system was implemented. With all these issues, I thought it would be a great time to create a new system from scratch. Firstly, the old system wasn't really strategic. When you dealt damage to an enemy, it would say, deal 1 strength damage, and let's say your strength is 5. Well, you're not going to be dealing exactly 5 damage, since this number would be plugged into a formula, which is then multiplied by the enemy's vitality, which then gave you the final damage. This was often too troublesome to calculate for a player and often ignored. To fix this, I wanted to simplify the numbers like in many deck builder roguelikes. The damage formula needed to be very simple. When something say deal 5 damage, it would deal 5 damage exactly, ignoring any additional effects. In order to make this change, I've removed many of the common RPG stats from the game. No more strength, vitality, intelligence, wisdom, just the bare minimum, which in my case is HP, TP, and speed. Damage number would also come from the skill itself instead of a stat like strength. Doing this basically makes the game act like the deck builder roguelike, but you have all the cards in your hand. This might not seem like a good idea from a deck builder game design, but since I'm not trying to make a deck builder, I'll have to make other design choices to try and mitigate the staleness of each fight. The next thing that was removed from the combat system was the weakness system. While I was trying to imitate Etrian Odyssey, did I really need to create a dedicated weakness system? Probably not. Weakness didn't really serve much of a strategic purpose to the player since most characters in the game only dealt one type of damage. It also didn't help that the player character having weakness or resistance is usually ignored by myself when playtesting. I still kept the damage attribute type since that could be used to help design items and passive that interact with specific skills. It would still be technically possible to add a weakness by creating a passive which when an enemy would take damage, it would take more from that specific element. In order to make it easier to add more skills, I made a file which contained all the information about every action in the game. This allows me to quickly edit or modify multiple entries at once. This also makes adding new abilities to characters very easy. I made a few changes to map generation and added moving enemies to the games. For now, these enemies won't move while you're in combat, unlike Etrian Odyssey, but perhaps I'll add something like that into the future. These enemies are stronger than regular enemies and reward players with much better rewards, similar to elite enemies in Spire. I created a Discord server for my channel. I've also released another public demo for my game that you could playtest. Feedback would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching.